So today's $30 grocery haul challenge is going to be done here at Aldi. Several of my viewers have asked if I could try Aldi instead of Kroger or Walmart, which is where I tend to shop. So that's what I'm doing today. My first challenge was you have to pay a quarter to get the cart and then put the quarter back in and you get your quarter back when you return the cart. I had 25 cents like in dimes and nickels, but not an actual quarter. So a gentleman was kind enough to let me have his cart. I was going to give him the change for the quarter, but he's like, no problem, you can just take the cart. So I'm going to go inside and see what I can find. I do have a list of what I want to get. I'm going to see what they have for different sales and things like that, and we'll see what's what. So let's get started. So they've got a variety of apples, and they are certainly at different prices. And these Gala apples are $1.89, so I think I'll be getting a bag of those. So I'm back from Aldi, and I actually spent $30.71. So luckily I had 71 cents in change in my purse, so I was able to get what I needed to get. But here's the thing, I do go to Aldi's from time to time just to pick up this or that. Maybe I'm going to pick up some apples or pick up some celery, but not to actually shop for the week. So it was really quite an experience for me to do that. And what I did find was that whereas Aldi's had some prices that were very inexpensive and certainly lower than at some other stores like Kroger or Walmart, some of their other prices were definitely competitive. But let me show you what I got, and I'll tell you why. And one of the first things that I did before I went to the store was to make a meal plan for next week. And then I shopped my shelves. So I'll show you what I shopped my shelves for after I show you what I picked up at the store, because some of these things I need to get into the fridge. So the last time I did this challenge, I didn't account for breakfast, and several people commented on that. So this time I did put some breakfast plans in my menu. So as far as the breakfast goes, a couple of the days I wanted us to have cold cereal. Other days I wanted us to have oatmeal with toast. Other days either pancakes or French toast. And then of course your standard eggs, bacon, and toast, that kind of thing. So I did plan those things for breakfast. As far as lunches, I typically will either use leftovers from the night before for lunch or maybe some cans of soup or something like that. So I didn't necessarily pick up anything specifically for lunch because I do plan to use leftovers for that, because many of the meals that I plan to make will serve 6. And then as far as dinner, I wanted to have taco bowls one day, and these were going to be taco bowls without meat in them. So they would be like black beans and garbanzo beans and then some veggies. So you would get your protein from that. Some tuna noodle casserole. And you know, when I was doing some research, tuna casserole was one of those things that people rarely make anymore. Now, all of our moms made that when we were kids, and we certainly made that for our kids as well. But it's one of those foods from the 60s that people rarely cook today. But I think I'm going to bring it back. Tuna noodle casserole is kind of like tuna and noodles or chicken and noodles. It's just a little bit thicker because it's baked. So it is creamy, but it is baked. So I did put tuna casserole on the meal plan for the week. Some spaghetti, and the spaghetti will either be with meat sauce or with veggies. We'll see. It'll be a vegetarian spaghetti or spaghetti with meat sauce. Roast chicken with mashed potatoes and green beans and biscuits. And cranberry sauce, some chicken and dumplings, and typically when I have chicken and dumplings, I'll serve green beans on the side or more cranberry sauce, or maybe a green salad. And then I thought I would make a meatloaf. I haven't made one for a while, so I thought I'd make a meatloaf, and then with gravy and mashed potatoes to go along with that, maybe green beans or carrots. And then I'd have a meal of beans and cornbread. I've got some pinto beans that I bought in my last grocery haul. So I thought I would make pinto beans with cornbread, serve it with some kind of a green salad or fruit, like maybe an apple dessert on the side, make some cornbread muffins, and then season it with some chicken parts or something like that. So that's the meal plan that I have. So now let me show you what I actually got. Because I'm going to switch it up just a little bit. So first of all, I did get a chicken, and this time I got a raw chicken. This particular chicken was $1.99 a pound, and it was $8.94 altogether. It's like 4.49 pounds. And I plan to make the chicken and dumplings and the roast chicken. So we'll have the roast chicken on Sunday, and then I'll cut it in half. We'll have half the roast chicken on Sunday. The other half we'll have later in the week with chicken and dumplings. For breakfast, I picked up some bacon, and the bacon was $3.49 a pound. This is the thick slice, and I thought long and hard about getting the bacon, or they did have some Canadian bacon that's more like little ham slices, but I thought we'd rather have the bacon, and then we can have bacon for breakfast a couple of times with eggs and bacon and toast, but also I'm going to make some fried cabbage, and I'll need some bacon for that. So I can use the bacon for a breakfast as well as for a dinner side dish. So that's why I chose to get the bacon. I did pick up some eggs, and the eggs were $3.28 for a dozen. And since I do plan to make some muffins this week, I needed eggs for that as well as for breakfast. So needed to get the eggs. I did pick up this bag of onions, and I use onions all the time. And many of the dishes that I make that I use meat, or if I'm making some kind of a soup, I use onion, carrots, and celery to help season them. So I definitely needed to pick up the onion. So this time I went ahead and picked up this whole, I think it's a 2-pound bag of onions, because the onions that I don't use this week, I can use next week. So then when I have my $30 grocery challenge for next week, I don't have to get onions. So I did go ahead and get those. I also picked up a little bag of garlic, because again, you use garlic in lots of things, and whereas I may only use a few bulbs this week, and I didn't see garlic where you could just buy them individually at Aldi, but what I don't use this week I'll have for the next couple of weeks. So I got the garlic bulbs. And then since we are going to have taco bowls, and I do want to use some corn in my taco bowls, I picked up this bag of super sweet corn. And we'll probably only use maybe a third of the bag for the taco bowls. And then I'll have corn left that I can use for other meals. And then I also picked up this bag of broccoli florets. They will taste delicious stir-fried and then poured over rice, or also used with like broccoli, rice, onions, that kind of thing. So I picked up this bag of broccoli florets. They did have fresh broccoli crowns, and I almost got those, but they were like $1.35 a pound, whereas this bag of broccoli florets was $1.25. So I thought I can probably use this bag of broccoli florets, either use half of it and then do some stir fry, or use the whole bag and we'll just have the broccoli as a side dish. But I wanted to make sure that I had either some fresh or frozen veggies this week on my haul. So there's that. And then I did pick up a can of black beans, and I think these black beans were 66 cents. Let me just double check. No, they were $1.09. So these are organic black beans, so they were $1.09. But I didn't see any other black beans. But this is going to serve as my protein source on my taco bowls. So that's certainly a good bargain for that. And then I like to have fresh tomatoes on my taco bowls. So I picked up 3 Roma tomatoes, and I'll dice those up and we'll use it on the taco bowls. So got that. Didn't buy any avocados. That would be nice to have, but I didn't see any, number one. And then number 2, the budget didn't lend itself to that. So I didn't buy any avocados, but I do have some lime in the fridge already. So I'm good there. Now, one big thing that I got was this bag of apples, and I thought long and hard about bag of apples, bag of oranges, canned fruit, that kind of thing. And I decided to go with the apples because I can take a couple of apples and slice them up. Because I can take a couple of apples, slice them up with my apple slicer, and we can have apples for fruit for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner as a nice little sweet. And the other thing I plan to do with the apples is dice them up really small and make some oatmeal in my Instant Pot, put the apples in there, and it's delicious. So I plan to do that, as well as I made some apple walnut bread with my new KitchenAid stand mixer, and it was absolutely positively delicious. So I would like to make another apple dessert since it is, after all, apple season. And I'd like to either make another apple walnut bread or some apple spice muffins. So that's what I plan to do. And these Gala apples at Aldi were on sale for, the bag was just $1.69, I believe, was for the whole bag. Let me just double check. Yeah, the whole bag was $1.89. Now they did have some other apples, Red Delicious and some other higher priced apples, but since these were the most economical, I thought they'll work just fine in the things that I plan to do with them. So I got this bag of apples, and we'll be having apples for fruit instead of orange juice in mornings. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to make some fried cabbage and probably put a little bit of carrot and just a little bit of diced tomatoes in there. And then I can serve the cabbage with a piece of chicken or something like that. And there will be some bacon in it for seasoning and for flavor, but there could be a little chicken on the side as well as some cornbread. So there's that. And then other things that I do plan to have for breakfast includes French toast. So I got this bag of 100% whole wheat bread. Now usually I'm buying a little bit fancier bread that's almost $3 to $4 a loaf, but I don't plan on making French toast with that. So I thought for French toast, this bread will work much better. And it was $1.89 for the loaf of bread. And I also got this box of salt, and I had to get salt because our box of iodized salt is almost empty, so I did need to get that. And then of course I got this half gallon of milk. Now we don't drink a lot of milk, but when we're having cereal we will have milk there. And then of course in baking I often need milk for that. So I got this half gallon of milk, and this half gallon of milk was $1.55. So this half gallon of milk was $1.55. And this altogether came to $30.71. So now let me get these refrigerator things put away, and I'll show you what I shopped my shelf for. This video is brought to you by Aprondiva. Pretty and practical, we believe that an apron can be a homemaker's best accessory. Visit us at www.aprondiva.com. So here are the things that I shopped my Four Corners pantry, as my friend Mary from Mary's Nest says. I shopped my freezer for the ground beef for the meatloaf, and I usually have about 2 pounds of ground beef for that. So I got 2 packs of ground beef out of the freezer for the meatloaf. I'm going to make a tuna noodle casserole. So I already had some old-fashioned egg noodles on my pantry shelf, so I can use some of these noodles for tuna casserole, or if I change my mind and decide instead of chicken and dumplings I want chicken and noodles, I've got noodles that I can use for that. But in the meantime, here's a can of cream of mushroom soup and a can of tuna, and it's the Circus with Charlie on the label. But Circus chunk like tuna that was already on my pantry shelf, so I can make a casserole of chicken and noodles, and that lasts about, well, that serves 6. So there's that. And then I also thought about making some, as I mentioned earlier, the taco bowls. So I did have a can of tomato sauce on my shelf. I've got a couple of these small cans should I need that. And then of course a can of chickpeas or garbanzo beans. I like to have black beans, garbanzo bean, a little bit of corn, and sprinkle those on top of the rice. If I'm going to have meat sauce, I'll put meat sauce on top of that with a little sour cream and guacamole. Well, there's no avocado, so there won't be any guacamole this week, but I do have lime in the fridge, so there's that. And then for spaghetti, I've got this box of spaghetti that I bought in my last grocery haul, as well as a can of petite diced tomatoes, and I have several cans of this on my pantry shelf. We will be having pinto beans one day next week, and so with the pinto beans, I'm going to probably only cook about half the bag, and that'll serve anywhere from 6 to 8, depending upon the size of your people. And I'll probably season it with chicken, maybe chicken thighs or something like that. So it'll be flavored and seasoned with some chicken thighs, but the main protein source will be the beans. And then I'll serve that with either some kind of a green veggie. I've got several green vegetables on my list, and I probably have, let me look real quick. I've got a can of these Glory seasoned Southern style collard greens, and as a matter of fact, this is the last can that I have. So which means that the next time I buy groceries, I need to pick up at least 2 of these, because as Granny Karma says, 2 is 1 and 1 is none. So when I use this one, there will be none on the shelf. So I do need to get a couple more of those. So that'll be going with the beans, and we'll have greens and beans that day for dinner. And I'll also make some corn muffins. And so on my pantry shelf, I've got some yellow cornmeal, as well as sugar, or rather flour, sugar, that I can make corn muffins, I can make biscuits, I can make those kinds of things with that. I've got some baking powder, baking soda in my pantry, and some Greek yogurt in the fridge that I've been using for my nuts and berries, but I can also use that Greek yogurt to make my biscuits if I want to make a little bit different recipe. I've got oatmeal on my pantry shelf, as well as grits. So I did have rice in that container at one point, but I moved the grits out there and put the rice like here and then in the pantry that's here in the kitchen, because sometimes hubby can't find things, and if it's not working for him, it's not working. So I put the grits out there. Now that it's getting a little bit cooler, he's more likely to make those for breakfast if he can find them pretty easily. And then here's rice to make. And should I plan for, oh, the rice is going to be the base for the taco bowl. So I've got the rice. And of course, we can always do chicken and rice for a meal or something like that. So I've got quite a few options. And then something that I didn't need to buy, because again, it was on my shelf, with these cut green beans. Typically, when I buy them, I will buy a 4-pack like this. And then cranberry sauce. And I did notice that the cranberry sauce at Aldi was $1.59 a can. That's pretty amazing at this type of the year. But I didn't get any because I knew I had some at home. But I do need to be picking some more of that up. Now, this was not ocean spray, and I tend to only like ocean spray, but I'm going to try that puppy, because at $1.59, we're going to see if it works. And if it does, then I'll know I can go there more. So there are these, and then a couple days I thought we'd have cold cereal for breakfast. So here I've got Raisin Bran, and I've got some of those little mini wheats, the little shredded wheats, the little mini ones. So I've got things here already that I could pull from to augment my $30 grocery haul for next week. Now here's the thing. All of the things that I purchased today will go with anything that I've already got here in my home. So I don't have to do a lot of meal planning, because I function by my 20-item capsule grocery haul. And if you guys missed that video, I will link it in the description box below so that you can check it out. But it just shows you how if you buy things that it all works together, you can make a meal out of whatever you've got without having to spend too much time meal planning. So I bought that I bought that chicken, that whole chicken, and it was a pretty good size. So whereas typically I might get a rotisserie one, but they didn't have any rotisserie chickens at Aldi. But this whole one, the price wasn't too bad. It's comparable to other places. But I can cut that in half, make a roast chicken for Sunday, get some of the broth off of that, and use it to make gravy. And then we can have gravy on potatoes, mashed potatoes, and that kind of thing. And then cut the other half into quarters, and then use part of it to season the beans, and maybe even make chicken and dumplings. And if I decide to do chicken and dumplings, well, I got flour and other seasonings. And then of course in my spice pantry, I've got all kinds of seasonings that it has taken me quite a few years to put together. So I encourage you homemakers that as you begin to build your spice pantry, think about the basics at first. Salt, pepper, baking powder, baking soda, cinnamon, nutmeg, oregano, those kind of real basic spices. And you can get those at Aldi. They had a lot of spices for like $1.25 or $1.50. But you can also consider picking up those kind of spices at Dollar Tree for like $1.25, that kind of thing. But begin to build your repertoire of spices. And as I also want to do is encourage you to begin to build your pantry, so that if all you've got to spend this week is $30, you've got a pantry to pull from. If I didn't have these things to pull from, I would have pretty much been up the creek. And one of the things that you don't want to have to do is buy a lot of starchy foods that end up wreaking havoc with your health. I wanted to make a point to get some fresh things as much as possible, or at least frozen, which is better than canned all the time. But I like canned green beans, so there's that. And I like canned cranberry sauce. So we will see. The other thing that I think you will enjoy is my $30 grocery haul challenge, surviving on $30 worth of SNAP benefits. People, I have to tell you, that challenge was an eye-opener. It was not as easy as I thought it would be. So if for the people that actually have to live off of that kind of budget, and granted, I've learned that with SNAP benefits, you are to use some of your own money to add to what they're giving you. So they're supplementing your grocery bill with, say, the $30. So luckily, I have a pantry to pull from. If you don't have a pantry to pull from, you're going to be in big trouble. So I encourage you to begin to build that pantry. So each week or each 2 weeks or each month, when you buy your groceries, buy some things that are going to be specifically for your pantry. And it could be inexpensive items like the beans. It could be something simple that you're going to start with, like the tuna or other canned meat. Or it could be things like the cornmeal or the cooking soups, as my husband calls them. Some of the cooking soups or other things like the flour, the sugar, the oatmeal, but things that you can use to make meals that you may not need today, but maybe pick up 1 or 2 of those items so that you can gradually begin to build your pantry. For more budget-friendly meals like how to make chicken and dumplings from scratch, how to make homemade chili, different things like that, watch this video next.